You could be as talented as you want and not get anywhere. In this industry, sometimes you gotta be selfish. Nobody's talking about you. Nobody remembers the tracks that you made 2-3 years ago. You have to give people consistent reminders. That's why fads come and go so quickly. Like, it's either this or I die.
How do you keep that going?
You gotta keep reminding yourself why you do it. I lost sight of that because I was in a relationship that was making me miserable in my free time. Instead of doing the hard work that's actually going to get me somewhere, I was just drinking and eating a bunch and playing games and watching shows because that was giving me that immediate satisfaction of dopamine. Part of living my life is creating the art that I want to create.
So when you decide to put out 3 different projects, 3 different genres, potentially 3 different types of listeners, what makes you feel confident that that's going to be the right move?
That's a really good question. Everything takes money, essentially. If you want to push it, you got to push it with funds. So you got to fund everything. That's why, you could be as talented as you want and not get anywhere. You know what I mean? Because around every corner, something is demanding a little bit of money out of you. So basically just stacking up, building my fan base, but building a fan base from singles and EPs and whatnot, and just trying to build something that I can kind of call my own before bringing anybody else into it. Because otherwise, you don't really have anything appealing to you that's different than everybody else. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to build my own thing, and then you can package it, and then you can expand from there. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Got you. So, like, when you say bring in other people, what's that look like? What's the first step once you get to that level? What does it look like when you start reaching out to other people to bring them in?
It could be anything from building a team to, trying to get a deal to just, if it's investors or if you're trying to, bring a partner in to handle the business side or anything, anybody that you bring into your journey, you want to bring them into something that they can believe in, that they can see the proof of it working and it actually being effective. Right. You don't want to bring them in and not have anything put together, not have anything figured out, and just be like, well, I guess we'll just figure this out together. You want to make their work as easy and as exciting as possible. And it's not exciting if it's uncertain and if it's questionable. You know what I mean? It's exciting if you're like, nah, I know this is gonna bring some money in. This is gonna bring some people in. This is gonna grow big. If you can put that excitement in people's hearts, you got their loyalty. You know what I mean?
Give them a reason to want to be a part of it, as opposed to just thinking automatically they're going to want to be a part of it.
Exactly. You don't want to expect people to latch on and stay on without any reason or without giving them reason after reason after reason to stay. I mean, it's similar to hiring people. You don't just hire them once and then don't got to worry about them. Don't got to worry about their experience. Don't got to worry about their headspace, where their mind's at. You got to keep rehiring them throughout the process in order to make them stay. So you got to give them incentives to stay. You got to praise them for their work. You got to give them hope. You got to do all these things in order to keep people around. So that's just kind of something to learn about life in general, but it definitely applies to the music industry as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you hear Gary Vee talk a lot about that in his content, where he says all of the employees that he has at VaynerMedia, he really works for them. And I think that's something that gets past a lot of artists for sure. I kind of want to rear back to the team, including myself. I feel like a lot of artists, that's one of the first things, bro, if I could just get some more people that could be a part of the movement, we could really start making some headspace with this. But how do you even go about that? I mean, you got a manager is really what people first think of, but now with social media, you got to worry about who's going to be helping you out with that content creation, maybe. So, yeah. Where do you start?
Well, I'm dolo right now. I'm doing everything myself, and I got a full-time job, so it is really difficult for me to think about bringing people in right now. But at the same time, it makes me happy to think I wouldn't have to worry about wasting every free second that I have on these tedious tasks when I have a team behind me to do these things. So I guess for each their own. I think it depends on what's important to you. So whatever you're not getting done, what's most important, and who could you bring in to that you trust to get that done, and just kind of take it one task at a time. What can you take on, and then what do you not have time to take on that would actually have an impact? So if, say, your email marketing is struggling because you have no time to, curate these emails and build the list and all that stuff. Okay. Is that where you want to start as far as your team, or is it more important to start with the content creation, or is it more important to start with, a manager? Can you just manage yourself right now? You know what I mean? Like, it really depends on what's most important to you in that stage of your journey. You know what I mean?
And I think it's really important how you pointed out the stuff you don't have time for. And I feel like a lot of people, that'll be easy to kind of be like, man, I never have time for X, Y, and Z. One that is kind of like, know thyself. Also, what's your week at?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be like, as far as I'm concerned, if I start thinking about team, I'm thinking about the things not only do I not have time for, but the things where it's just like, bro, I'm struggling. I got a learning curve with this. And even if I get it done, how much better would it be? More efficient would it be to just go hire out somebody?
Yeah, no, that's facts. So that's the two sides of the coin. What do
Right.
I not have time for, and what can I hire somebody who's stronger than me at? You know what I mean? That's facts.
I know you got the singles coming. What is it? What is all kind of, so by the end of 2024? What is it looking? If everything goes according to plan, what does it look like for you?
So right now, as I'm starting 2024, you know, my vision for the year has changed very recently because my credit score just went up like a lot. So
Tell us why
like
that's important, Ted.
bruh, because I can apply for loans. I can get like a better crib where I can actually have like more space, and I can like build stuff in that crib for content creation, build a better studio. I can use like the loans for equipment to improve, and for software and for programs to improve my quality of music.
Yeah.
And then I could push money into pushing those projects. So, my credit score going up, which I just saw yesterday, went up like 120, 130 points.
Congratulations,
Like,
man.
thank you, brother. I haven't even been able to process like, oh shit, like what can I do now that I didn't have in mind New Year's Day? So I'm still trying to process everything that I can do with that. But essentially, my idea is relatively the same, which is just I need to push more content out. I need to get more stuff out. I've been kind of in hibernation. I've been going through a lot this past year, and I've just been trying to basically survive. And now I'm at a point where I don't have to survive anymore. I can actually live my life.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And part of living my life is creating the art that I want to create. So by the end of 2024, I want to have an album dropped for every, I guess, like facet of my music career. So, the bar heavy, like hip hop stuff. And then I got like a more chill project that I'm working on. And then maybe later in the year, me and my cousin are also dropping an album, but that's more like rage and like trap metal and that kind of stuff. So I want to basically introduce people to every side of me as an artist, and just have them kind of fall into where they fit. You know what I mean? Where do you fit as far as like who is Ted to you? Do you like this or do you like that? I'm going to give it all to you and just let you decide. And they're all just going to kind of like fall into place. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
And I feel like that's a lot of artists, when you are talented enough to be versatile like that, that's when you start coming
Mm-hmm.
across like, okay, what should I put out? What made you decide instead of, because the thing you hear a lot when it comes to advice, music advice, is you kind of niche down. You want to bring in a specific type of audience or whatever the case is. And I know you actually, you know what I'm saying? You have strategy behind everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you're just shooting in the dark. So when you decide to put out 3 different projects, 3 different genres, potentially 3 different types of listeners, what makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
confident that that's going to be the right move?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked like the tough question. So, I definitely, like 2 years ago when I started like this more experimental stuff, right? I was dropping it under my rap name, and I basically started following that advice of like, okay, I need to like niche down and like actually like I don't want to confuse people. I don't want people to shuffle my stuff and one song sounds like one artist and another song sounds like another artist, so they can't really like get into it, right? So how I'm combating that while also still being able to express myself is that music is under a different name. So me and my cousin have a duo that we're starting, and it's going to be all under that different name. And then you can basically treat it like two completely different entities. So the people that the duo is going to be called Follow the Blood. The people that discover Follow the Blood, that love Follow the Blood, that fall in love with it, maybe they'll discover that I'm also a rapper who does straight lyrical rap. Cool. But if they want to stay over there, nothing's going to interrupt that experience for them because it's all going to be its own separate entity in every way. If they want to go to the other side, they can all they want, and then vice versa. So all the stuff that I have that fits into that alternative experimental stuff under my name, Ted the Poet, is probably going to be removed so that my brand name stays recognizable because I do want to completely separate the two and follow that advice. It is good, solid advice, and I wasn't following it for a while, but now I'm trying to basically make everything easier to understand when people look at me as an artist. You know what I mean?
So walk me through this. I know you said you got the bar heavy, you got the chill project, and then you got the trap metal with your cousin, and that's the one that's going to be a separate entity, right? That's the one where it's going to be okay. Is it going to be like a Migos type of situation where if you look further into the story, it's like, okay, I see that this duo is made up of X and Y artists, and now I can go follow them separately? Or is it just going to be like a mystery? This is who we are. That's the only name you'll know.
Yeah, no, it will be like that. It will be like, okay, if you dive deep, which you don't even have to dive deep enough. Okay, this duo was composed of Ted the Poet and Indie Life. Let's see who they are separately, right? And what makes me not worry about it so much as far as like people then doing that and being like, wait, what? Like, what's going on here? Is that trap metal is still hip hop. Like, they're still hearing my bars in the trap metal. They're still hearing the bars. All they're gonna do is just get more pure bars without any sort of like the screaming and the extremities of the trap metal. So if they did dive deep, say those people really mess with the bars and the lyrics and what I have to say in the trap metal, they're just gonna go over and see, okay, he actually does straight rap. Similar to like if you hear like a rapper who does straight rap and then you discover, oh, this motherfucker can sing. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not really confused. Like, he can sing, you know, like you're not really confused at that point because he's a musical artist. You know, he's multifaceted. Not everybody wants to stick to one thing and stay to it, especially as an artist. We just want to, me personally, my biggest priority is to express every emotion in the spectrum that I could feel, because that's how it helps me therapeutically to just get through life. So if I'm super happy about something, I can make a song about my damn credit score right now. You know what I mean? It's because I'm not limiting myself to, oh, I have to stick to this one thing. I can talk about some silly stuff. I can talk about, you know, sex. I can talk about my anger and rage, sadness, depression. And then I know that once I actually fully like flesh out my ideas and flesh out each project, I know that each emotion is going to have a specific place and a specific audience that can relate to it. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that makes sense. Now, gun to your head, mm-hmm. You had to choose between the trap metal and are we separating where you say you're going bar heavy and going chill, or are you going to just kind of this under one umbrella type of thing?
Well, we'll put those under one umbrella because those will both be under Ted the Poet. It's just going to be two different vibes. You know what I mean?
So, of course, all of it, you want it to, like you said, have a spectrum. where people you're one for as the artist, you're able to get all of that out.
Yeah.
You're not stuck in one particular lane where when you on some rage type shit and you ready to get on some trap metal music,
Yeah.
you can put that out there without feeling like you're in some sort of box. But gun to your head, if you had to choose one to stick to, which one would it be?
Yeah. It'd be what I've been making my whole life.
Gotcha.
Just because it's just gonna be the rap, and that's just because the trap metal stuff is experimental. I see the potential, but I'm not so like gung ho die hard as I am with my just straight rap, or even like if I go a little bit more emotional. I can still tap into a wide spectrum with that. With the trap metal, it is very much like rage and pain and emotion and stuff like that. So it's more like I'm playing with that right now. It could turn into something really big, and I'm excited to think about that. But if it's gun to my head, I have to completely drop one and never make another track under that umbrella again. I'd have to drop the trap metal because it's just too new. You know what I mean? And the other stuff, the straight rap is sentimental to me. You know what I mean? So I couldn't let that go. You'd have to put the bullet through my head.
Man, you said go ahead and shoot me. All right. No, I like that, man. You talking good. You talking good. All right. So I know you said this year is gonna be focused on content.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look? Are you choosing particular platforms? Are you trying to focus down, or what does that look like for you?
So for me, the stuff that I want to push out, the overarching like objective, right? If I was to like make this like a business plan, essentially, the overarching objective is to remind people how talented I am. And it sounds selfish, but in this industry, sometimes you got to be selfish.
Why do you feel like they need to be reminded?
Because I haven't been making enough.
The hibernation.
And the hibernation. I haven't been making enough. I haven't been putting enough out, and therefore nobody's talking about me. And that's me being real with myself, and that's me giving myself motivation. Nobody's talking about you. Nobody remembers the tracks that you made 2-3 years ago. You have to give them consistent reminders. You have to give people consistent reminders. That's why fads come and go so quickly. That's why nobody's saying Joe Byron and Ayo, because that was a fad in 2022 or 2021 that was funny as hell for the moment, and it just came and went. You know what I mean? That's why nobody's referencing stuff that was big like a few years ago. Yeah, you could reminisce on it, but that's why one-hit wonders exist, because people reach that peak and they're like, oh my God, I haven't made for the rest of my life. But there's no consistency, there's no reminders, and then they slowly but surely drop off, and then people are like, oh, I forgot that motherfucker exists. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person who's like, oh, he got up here, but I haven't heard from him in 2 years. I forgot he exists.
He ain't hungry
no more. You know what I mean? He ain't hungry no more.
Right.
He must be happy with what the little crumbs that he got.
Yeah.
So good for him. The stuff that I was recording just today and stuff that I've been recording, bro, I'm spitting like I'm hungry, bro. I'm spitting like I'm starving. Like it's either this or I die. And so I'm excited to push out like that to people.
How do you keep that going? How do you keep that hunger?
You got to keep reminding yourself why you do it, And for a little bit, I lost sight of that because I was in a relationship that was making me miserable. And so when you're in a relationship that makes you miserable, you're just looking for anything that makes you feel good. And that could be good for you or bad for you. But you're just looking for that dopamine rush. So in my free time, instead of doing the hard work that's actually going to get me somewhere, I was just drinking and eating a bunch and playing games and watching shows, because that was giving me that immediate, that instant gratification, that instant satisfaction of dopamine.
Right.
You know what I mean? I broke up with her for many reasons, and now it's like I'm taking my life into my own hands again. And now I'm trying to remind myself why I came to LA, why I started this music career, and who I am as an artist. Who do I want people to see me as? Who do I want people to know me as? So now I'm seizing every opportunity I can to put in that work. You still have to give yourself those decompression moments, that comfort. Everybody needs to relax. but I'm not spending every second of my time relaxing, um, just to get that dopamine rush. It's like, all right, I need to earn this relaxation. Let me work on this song. I need to earn this relaxation. Let me do this. Let me do that. So that's kind of like where my mindset is shifting a little bit, to actually be more like progress oriented and reward oriented versus just, you know what, I'm stressed out. I deserve this. No, I don't deserve this because where am I in life right now? I'm not where I need to be. So no, I don't deserve this. I need to earn it. You know what I mean?
No, I completely understand, bro. My girl still has to fight with me when she wants to go on vacation. She's like, "Why don't you want to go?" She's like, "Bro, look where we live, man. This isn't what I want yet." And it's just like I get it that this is the level for some people they haven't made or whatever. Just having a house, having a job, that you know what I mean, just being able to survive. But if you have that greater vision, I do definitely feel like it's important
Yeah,
to keep that kind of mindset. Yeah.
absolutely. And what you got going on, like, what you got going on this year? So I'm gonna ask you the same question, like,
Yeah.
what's 2024 looking like for XO Xuded?
Man, I actually very similar to you. I took my first hibernation that I've ever taken since I started doing this. Like
Yeah,
at least that was by choice. And really it was because I realized that I was doing the wrong thing. I was so busy trying to push music, music, music. I didn't really build my brand. And it's something that when I try to talk to like some of the local artists here, they don't necessarily understand what I'm saying because they might be like, no, you know what, your branding's on point. It's just like, why? Because I have a logo, because I have a color palette. You know what I mean? None of this really matters. And I remember I was actually on one of the live calls, and it was a big issue from years ago that I had tried to get some help on, and I'm like, man, I want to show other sides of me. But what happens if my free time consists of either doing music or like, I'm taking my kids to school or, you know what I mean? Work, nothing, all the mundane things. Like nobody wants to see me brush my teeth. You know what I mean? Like other than that though, I'm
yeah,
not sitting here saying I'm in the studio all the time. In fact, that's not even most of it. It's content create. You know how it is, all of it.
yeah,
So between all of that, even if I'm not physically doing it, I'm thinking about it. It's just like, man. And when I started thinking more about maybe I've just been boring, very two dimensional,
mm,
and that was something that I was like, okay, how do I become three dimensional? And I don't want to necessarily, like you said, I do decompress. I put on Family Guy at the end of the night. I put it on usually when I'm eating, but it's usually like background noise. It's not. I don't have anything that I just dive into because this takes up so much time.
yeah,
But then it just kind of hit me, and I was like, why do I have to worry about what I'm doing right now? I always said that when I get to the point that I want to get to, which, as a kid, I'm like flashing lights and tour and all that record label, all those things have changed, obviously, as far as the record label not being as important. But
yeah,
I always saw myself taking that and leveraging that to get into film, to actually start producing my own movies. And I wanted to do podcasts weren't even really a thing back then, but I was like, man, I just want to do like interviews and on different talk shows. It's just like I just wanted to kind of like do all of that. I'm like, why am I waiting?
yeah,
And I didn't even have any set goal where it's like, okay, once I do this particular thing, then I'll start. I was just kind of like pushing it off and bullshitting, really. So this year, XO Zooted is going to start having my third dimension is film and acting. So I'm going to start putting incorporating that into my brand, doing my own little short films, and that finding a way to incorporate music into it as well.
hell yeah, bro. That's exciting as hell to hear, man. I'm excited. I always love just like seeing like crossovers and things crossing over new bounds, and that's exciting for me, especially because I'm an actor. I went to college for theater, and I've done like some shows and movies and stuff, and I love film. I love that whole world, and I'm also uh trying to convince myself to step into it again, because you know And I say convince myself because you feel like you have such a full plate that you just don't want to take on any new subjects sometimes. They're like, nah, that's gotta wait. You know, you push it off, that's gotta wait.
Right.
But then I think back like, well, what about those, few hours of that day that I was just chilling? You know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
was, maybe I was working on something, for some of it, but I was just chilling. I could have been out, I could have got casted for a role and I could have been shooting there. And then next thing you know, that leads to another role, leads to another role. I feel like unless you were constantly like on your feet, rushing, moving, doing the stuff that's the most important to you and you never have time to relax and you sleeping for like 2 hours a night, you can't say that you don't have any time for one more thing in your life. So if I want to make time for it, I'll make time for it.
Right.
If it's important to me, I can always fit it into my schedule along with all the other stuff that's important to me. And I can work on 7, 8 different things if I want to. And I need to keep reminding myself that. So that's one of the things that I'm also trying to get into is film. Not so much creating. So you're talking about more what, behind the camera or in front of the camera for yourself?
So it'll be a little bit of both. But as far as XO Xuded, the XO Xuded brand, I'm going to be on the camera. Uh, and I broke it down. This is something that eventually I'm going to be talking about more on the Indie Leverage platform. But it was like this big like epiphany moment. It's like, okay, 3 dimensions. That means I really have 3 different pockets that I could pull from. And bro, you know what I'm saying? You've seen me on Instagram. It was so much soul taken out of it where I'm just lip syncing, lip syncing, lip syncing. Here's another song, another song. It's like, bro, what? You were just a jukebox.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, the 3 dimensions is going to be number one, your music. That's what I think every artist should start with, because that's why you're an artist, not necessarily like I'm XO Xuded the actor. So art, music
Mm-hmm.
first. The second dimension is the artists themselves, your personality, things like podcasts, going live, whatever. And then the third dimension is what you do, and then incorporating it all. So let's say, so I have a short film that I'm working on right now, and
Mm-hmm.
it, I wanted at first, I saw it like on some Empire thing where there's a rapper in the actual movie,
Yeah.
but I was like, it doesn't even have to be that deep. I could just be on the soundtrack.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like doing little short films like that. Um, and just trying to incorporate it. And Indie Leverage is kind of my way to scratch the filmmaker itch, because even though I'm doing a lot of music education, the whole purpose of starting Indie Leverage is I want to make it like a Netflix for the music industry. So like documentaries, shows, all of those different things. So but yeah, man. So that's definitely going to be the new route. I want people. Nobody really, I felt like, knew me, and that was by design without me even realizing it.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep. It's like you just wanted to give them like that surface level, like not cookie cutter, but just like kind of just like skin deep, something just to quickly latch onto without actually like having to do the research or learn more. It's just like, here's something that I know you're like, boom.
Facts.
It's
And
like
it
not
serves
even,
its purpose. It's a commodity. That means
yeah.
it's here one day, gone the next, and it's just like, who is that? I don't know. And it's kind of like that one hit wonder thing you're talking about. Those, I feel like, are the people that design their brands without even realizing it to be a one hit wonder. Because let's say they do keep making songs, it's like, why is nobody paying attention? It's like, bro, because they like the song, not you.
Yeah.
So, and then the podcast, it's like, we're like, this is on Indie Leverage for a reason. So just kind of like breaking the wall or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
On XO Xuded, I'm gonna have a podcast, but it's gonna be talking about whatever the fuck I like to talk about, which I really like to talk about shit like the human condition, like just life in general, and things
Yeah.
that ordinarily, you would think that doesn't go with music. How are you going to incorporate that, bro? Look at all of these other business people. What do? They're putting content out, and then they put in their own little pre-roll ad. It's like I could do that real
Yeah.
in anything that I do. I could just do an ad where it's like, hey, by the way, and then my product is my music,
Right.
and then they all just kind of point to each other.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought process on it.
Man, when I think back to this episode, weeks from now, I'm definitely the forefront of my mind is going to be, that third dimension that you talked about. I think that that's a really good takeaway from this. And specifically because like I started going off on saying like, oh, I got like 5, 6, 7 different things I want to work on. But the way that you broke it down to say like your music, your personality, and then something that you can incorporate everything into, I really feel that. And so using that analogy, my third dimension is actually a novel that I'm working on. It's called The Rowdy Boys, and it's a autobiographical novel. I say semi because I'm not focusing so much on keeping every fact like pristine, exactly how it happened in my life. I'm taking liberties to also make it like entertaining, like more entertaining and whatnot. But essentially, it's semi autobiographical. So one of the themes is me building myself up to be an artist, and everything that happened in my life that made me go, you know what, I think I could really do this. You know what I mean? And I'm talking from way back when I was 8, like when I first started writing, to high school when I first like performed in front of like 200 people impromptu at my high school graduation.
Wow.
To just random moments in my life where I get chills just thinking about it. Just random moments in my life where it's almost like I got a glimpse of what I could do with my life, you know. But the overarching story has to do with the friend group that I met in college, and we lost one of my homies, and that's like the climax of the story, right? So this semi-autobiographical novel that I'm working on, as I'm talking about my life as an artist and just as a person in general, I'm throwing in, because, you know, I'm Ted the Poet. That, you know, I don't call myself the poet for nothing. I started off with spoken word poetry, you know.
Okay.
And I'm putting my poetry from back in the day, my real poetry, into the book as I'm talking about these scenes, as I'm building these pictures. And you see the poetry build and improve. And then you see the bars when I start rapping build and improve from this it was never super elementary, but you see some like elementary notes where it's like, okay, yeah, he's just 10 years old at this point. He's just 13 years old at this point. To, okay, he's like 19 and he's like pouring his heart out in this one song that he wrote about just losing his friend. So that's my third dimension, because I'm putting my music career up to this point in text. So anybody that reads that, even if it's a 60-year-old grandma, you know what I mean? If she picks up that book and she kind of gets like a little blurb of what it's about and it interests her, she's going to read that. She's going to be like, oh my gosh, it's just going to open her eyes. And I feel like that third dimension, it also allows you to reach other audiences. Maybe somebody that doesn't really listen to that genre of music, but it has your music incorporated in it, and it's going to make them feel something. You know, when I dropped that song that I talked about when I was 19, that's when Ted the Poet started. I became Ted the Poet at 19. I dropped my first song about my friend's death, and the dude that made the beat, he said that his dad, who's a teacher, showed it to the school counselor, some old lady. So this is some random lady that I never met before, and she cried to my song, bro. That made me go, wow.
This is,
you know what I mean?
This has some power behind it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I chased that dragon, bro. Throughout my whole career, I chased that dragon. It's cool. It's cool to get people on board that you know are going to get on board. It's even cooler to get people on board that you would have never expected to actually join your journey. And that's for me, that's one of the biggest goals of that third dimension, is for people who would have never even looked twice at me to actually be interested in my journey as an artist.